The two further offences relate to evidence obtained by Merseyside police during searches of Axel Rudikbana's home address as part of a lengthy and complex investigation which has been ongoing since the 29th of July. The additional charges are the production of a biological toxin, namely ricin, contrary to Section 1 of the Biological Weapons Act 1974, and possession of information, namely a PDF file entitled Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants, the Al-Qaeda Training Manual, likely to be useful to a person committing or preparing to commit an act of terrorism, contrary to Section 58 of the Terrorism Act 2000.
The situation surrounding the Southport killer is becoming increasingly perplexing and unsettling. In today's video, we will explore several key news stories that are both shocking and thought-provoking, shedding light on the current state of affairs. We won't just focus on these remarkable events, we'll also catch up on the latest news from across the country that could alter our understanding of the situation. The enigma surrounding the Southport suspect has escalated to a level of intrigue that feels almost surreal.
This big rise, and it continues for a long while. Now, one ex-account drove that conversation in particular. It generally deals in anti-immigrant sentiment, and it did so in this case in the afternoon of the attack, saying the attacker was alleged to be a Muslim immigrant. We know that is not the case. Now, this account is followed by Andrew Tate. Here he is, the controversial influencer, and later Tate posts this, calling the attacker an illegal migrant, again, completely incorrectly. And then there's this. It's a much more specific piece of misinformation. It gives a name which we don't think corresponds to anyone we've come across, and it takes on its own life. Again, it spreads and spread, not as much as the general anti-immigrant speculation. You can see here the name in orange compared to the yellow general anti-immigrant sentiment, but it solidifies that narrative that this is to do with immigration and...
Each new piece of information stirs up a whirlwind of emotions and raises even more questions, making the situation increasingly strange and unpredictable. Before delving into the specifics, I want to stress that everything I'm about to share is publicly available information. These are the facts being widely discussed, yet a thick cloud of mystery still lingers around them, affecting both us and you. Let's break down the shocking situation step by step. The suspect was expected to appear in court, but suddenly reports emerged that the hearing had been postponed. Why? The answers to this question remain elusive. He was eventually brought to the courthouse, but the intrigue deepens. He never entered the courtroom. Instead, he remained in his cell, citing an unexplained illness.
Well, responding to the news, Tory leadership hopeful Kemi Badenoch said as more information emerges, it is quite clear that there are serious questions to be asked of the police, the CPS, and also of Keir Starmer's response to the whole situation. Parliament is the right place for this to happen. While we must abide by the rules of contempt of court and not prejudice this case, it is important that there is appropriate scrutiny. Badenoch's leadership rival, Robert Jenrick, posted a video on social media.
The dad of 3 daughters, the Southport attack hit me personally. Of course, the legal process needs to be respected.
There is no information regarding the specifics of his illness, but his behavior, or rather his complete lack of activity, indicates that he is unwilling to cooperate. According to his lawyers, he maintains his innocence. Let's pause for a moment to consider this. Given that terrorist materials were discovered in his possession, including instructions for producing ricin and a so-called jihad manual on his computer, one might assume the case is straightforward. However, we are witnessing this strange and unsettling narrative unfold under an almost unprecedented shroud of secrecy. This is not merely an exaggeration. Reports suggest that members of parliament have been prohibited from asking any questions about the case. Journalists appear to know more than they are permitted to disclose, and even they are encountering efforts to silence them.
Yeah, well, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has piped up. She said these additional charges will undoubtedly be distressing for people in Southport. Excuse me. The most important thing is to get justice for Bibi, Alice and Elsie and their heartbroken families and all those affected by the attack. And nobody should put that at risk. The police and prosecutors have an important job to do in their investigation, pursuing every avenue and taking the action they need to ahead of the trial. We must support them and ensure that everything possible is done to deliver justice. Well, something people might find quite interesting is that Prime Minister Keir Starmer hasn't yet commented on any.
Now let's return to the issue of the court appearance, which raises numerous questions and emotions. The suspect's lawyers have declared his innocence on his behalf. But why adhere to this formality when the evidence appears so undeniable? It seems utterly absurd. Clearly, the case will proceed to court regardless, with hearings set to begin on January 20th. However, the situation takes an even stranger and more unsettling turn. This date coincides with a significant global event, the inauguration of the US president. Is this mere coincidence? Or could it be a strategic move to divert media attention from the trial amidst the turmoil of a major political event?
How many more children are going on our streets, Prime Minister? How many more children? How many more children, Prime Minister? Are we going to do something? What, we're going to stand up for our children? Yeah? Bye-bye. Got your photos, off you go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Make a real change! Get our children! Go away! You're not wanted!
The BBC reports that the suspect has denied the charges, but eyewitness accounts suggest otherwise. He has refused to speak at all. Is this a case of careless journalism, or is someone attempting to manipulate the narrative? Regardless, it only adds to the confusion surrounding an already perplexing case, and it's simply intolerable. Additionally, we can't overlook the bizarre details that are truly shocking. Reports indicate that the anti-terrorism manual was stored on the suspect's computer for 3 long years before this information came to light. His name was removed from the court records, and yet we still haven't seen an adult photograph of him. It just doesn't add up.
I came here to pay my respects to the victims and families who are going through raw pain and grief that most of us can't imagine. I can't imagine as a dad myself. I am very worried about high levels of knife crime, and I'm absolutely determined that my government will get to grips with it. But today is not the time for politics. Today is the time to focus entirely on the families who are going through such pain and grief, and on the wider community, and of course a time to say thank you to those that responded yesterday in the most awful of circumstances.
When he finally appears in court, he conceals his face, stirring a whirlwind of emotions within me. What lies behind this mask, and why is he hiding? I can't help but question how the court permitted him to assert his innocence, fully aware that it would result in an expensive public trial. Given the overwhelming evidence, his guilt seems like an inevitable conclusion, which is truly shocking. Yet, on the other hand, this case is rife with unexpected twists. Are we really on the brink of another shocking revelation that could change everything?
It's 3 months since that horrific attack in Southport that left 3 innocent young girls dead, 8 others injured, along with 2 adults. And now the significant development, the announcement by Merseyside Police of 2 new charges against the key suspect, Axel Rudakabana. He will now face charges relating to the production of the deadly toxin ricin, and also a terror charge relating to the downloading of an Al-Qaeda terror manual. This is what the Merseyside Chief Constable, Serena Kennedy, said a little earlier.
One thing is certain, the trial on January 20th will hold my full attention, and I won't be able to look away. While the world eagerly anticipates Trump's inauguration, I will be deeply engrossed in this case, striving to uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of secrecy and misinformation. Regardless of the outcome, this story isn't going away anytime soon, and I plan to follow its progression closely. What do you think about this? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Please share in the comments. See you next time.